What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about Lost Soulicide yet again in a very interesting, let's say, impression thread. You could even call it a preview thread over on Twitter. Now, these things are all happening very, very close to each other. You know, I made a video talking about, is the game okay? We kind of vented a little bit at, like, the state of the game. Then there was that Chinese preview video that, you know, kind of showed off. I thought it looked pretty good. I saw a lot of people in my comments that said it did not look very good. That's cool. Then I think the same day as that, or maybe a day after, it seems like people actually did get to preview this thing. So, look, we're getting closer and closer. I think the game probably is coming out when it says it's coming out. But now, okay, are there concerns about the game? So let's read Lunatic Ignis, which I'm not a huge fan of this person, but there's really not a reason to lie about this, considering he talks about, like, being part of a bigger group. So you can take it with a grain of salt. You can believe it, not believe it, whatever you want to do. We're just going to have a little bit of fun here and talk about the game. So let's look at the thread. There are a lot of concerns about Lost Soulicide. I had the occasion to play the game alongside various Chinese journalists and content creators, and here are some things that we learned about. We only played the first chapter in the demo, which is about 2 hours with multiple boss battles. Yang Bing confirmed it's a AA game. They want to aim for a Souls-like game as their next title. The development truly started in mid-2021. That's when they decided what type of game it'll be. Making this game was very difficult for Yang Bing, destroying his health. There are about 120 minutes of cutscenes in the entire game. The real problem about this game is that it doesn't stand up for itself. At times, it feels very cheap with animations and combat. Most of us don't think the game will be a general success because of the AAA price, even though the Chinese gamers are intrigued in it. The game is more of a Final Fantasy VII remake than a DMC5. You even have a town similar to it with a bunch of shops and NPCs. Now, in separate tweets, he's also said, just like flat out, keep your expectations low, because if they're low, maybe the game, you know, surprises you kind of in a good way. If your expectations are super high for this game, I think he even compared it to things like Black Myth Wukong and Phantom Blade Zero, saying it's not, you know, that level. So I would also probably throw in Stellar Blade. He doesn't say that. Phantom Blade for next year, you know, those are two at least we know, right? Stellar Blade, Black Myth, those are games we know I think did extremely well, both financially, sales, reception, right, from actual players. And then Phantom Blade looks to be doing the same thing next year, but it hasn't obviously released yet. So, okay, I mean, again, it's a little confusing. So, like, they call it a AA game. He literally says that. So he says, Yang Bing confirmed it's a AA game. So if it's a AA game, why is it priced as a AAA game? That's one of the first. It's not necessarily doubting that, like, any of this stuff happened. I think what would probably make this a little bit more believable, though, is they talk about, or he says, most of us don't think it'll be a general success because of the AAA price. So who's most of us? Like him and the people he played the game with. And so, like, can anybody corroborate, you know, what he said? Like, that would probably help the cause. But, like, generally, I kind of believe it. I just think, like, the wording is pretty messy in it. But that's, like, that was the first thing that kind of came to my mind is, okay, if they think it's a AA game, why isn't it priced as a AA game? And you could argue, well, it's because of the development. Well, then they just said the development didn't really start until 2021. So, and we know, like, this started as pretty much one guy, and it kind of built. This is not a huge studio, even at, like, the peak of, say, right now. So it's like, I don't know, you could argue, well, they need to make their money back. It was just him. I mean, I guess he sacrificed his life. He sacrificed his freaking health to make this game, probably at least in the beginning. So why? That's just one of the biggest things to me. Why would you say out loud to journalists, yeah, we consider this a AA game, but you know what we really think, though? We should price it as a AAA game. It's like that's a very silly thing to say out loud if that was actually said. And I also don't really understand why you would talk about your next game to be a Souls-like. Number one, I don't know, there's 1,000 Souls-like games. They're quickly becoming a genre that, look, they're actually all pretty okay. Like, I don't necessarily have a bone to pick with them, but my excitement each time when a Souls-like game gets announced is just a little bit less excited than, like, the one before it, right? But also, just again, why are we talking about their next game, and why in these interviews with the creator, when you're playing Lost Soulicide, why is he talking about the next game that they're doing when this game hasn't even released yet? The 120 minutes of cutscenes, that's probably, I would say, a positive, right? So you got like 2 hours of cutscenes. Gonna be interesting to see, because I think it has been confirmed from that Chinese preview that the game is like a linear type thing, which we talked about. Like towards the end of that preview, you see like the mini map and you see like the marker, and it very much, like, even though some of that open world stuff kind of looked a little bit like, say, Final Fantasy 15 or something, even in that preview, it very much felt like, okay, they're gonna give you a marker and you're just gonna kind of go there. I highly doubt there's gonna be that many things, that separates you from that kind of linear path. So that's okay. I mean, honestly, it being linear does not scare me or upset me. Having 2 hours worth of cutscenes doesn't scare or upset me. I think that honestly means it's like 10, 12, 15 hours long, because normally, like, that's kind of the blend of cutscenes. It's probably actually sometimes more than that. But then, okay, another like pretty deep, I'd say, cut into like criticism. The real problem of this game is that it doesn't stand up for itself, which, okay, at times it feels very cheap with animations and combat. So, the cheap thing, I think you can kind of just infer or think in your head, like, what that probably means, and that actually makes sense. Like, I can imagine what they're talking about. The game doesn't stand up for itself. I'm not exactly sure what that means, because, like, I don't know. Like, look, if the combat is cheap, I can understand like how somebody would play it and say, yeah, this just doesn't kind of feel right, or whatever. The animations, okay, the cutscenes just don't look so actually that might be a negative. 2 hours of cutscenes, if they look cheap, that's not necessarily a good thing, but you can understand that. But the game not standing up for itself, I'm not exactly sure. Like, how is it supposed to stand up for itself if it's bad, right? Does it have this extra potential that it can kind of unlock? I don't really understand what that means. And then even the Chinese gamers are intrigued by it. Look, I don't know all the facts, so I don't want to speak, out of line, but when I talked about that, is Lost Soul Aside okay, in that video, a lot of people that had more knowledge with it talked about, like, one of the developers who did something, let's say, not very good, right? And kind of like China almost turned on this game, and there's a lot of controversy with this game with China and Chinese influencers. So I guess now I don't know who to believe. I had many people that told me a very believable story, and now Chinese people are interested in it. Chinese gamers are intrigued by it. Look, they really helped Black Myth Wukong. We know how much that game sold PlayStations over there. We know how well it sold over there, and we know how well it sold on PC over there, right? But I mean, I don't know. Like, does it have a controversy in China or not, right? Like, is that Lunatic Ignis's impression, or is that like a fact that Chinese gamers are intrigued? Is that what those influencers were saying? Because I thought the story also is that influencers don't really want anything to do with this game. So I don't know. We're in a weird spot. We really are. Like, this. Here's the deal. Just in case anybody is curious, and I'm probably gonna make a video specifically on this. I'm getting this game. This is a game that a little bit I've gone back and forth on, okay, in terms of should I get it, should I not. I actually think it's too intriguing now to not get, even if it's bad, even if like all this stuff is true, which it very well might be true. I kind of want to get it just out of a social experiment at this point, just to play it and, and give it a chance and say, hey, if this thing's actually good, I can talk about it and we can talk about how good it is. And if the game sucks, well, that might be an interesting story as well now, right? So that just in case people are like, well, where do you actually stand on it? I am concerned, but I'm not concerned enough to like flat out not buy it. Like, in fact, it's the exact opposite. I want this game. I just kind of want to see now like what it's like, and if it's terrible, it's terrible. I'm really interested for the reviews. Not that I go by reviews, but like, is this a game that gets like in the 50s, or is this a game that gets like in the low 70s and they say, it's okay? Didn't I say that, by the way, like a week or two ago, where it's like, I think this is a game that's going to do a couple things really well, but overall it might be like, an average type game, which is not necessarily the same as like Black Myth, Stellar Blade, hopefully Phantom Blade Zero. Those are like all around, maybe, there's a couple issues here and there, but like those are all around like really good games. I don't think I've ever seen Lost Soul Aside the same way as those. And I think as time has gone on, again, we're hearing from more and more people that it probably is not going to be like that. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.